What's going on, guys? It's Thomas at Forward Sports Media. We've got episode 29 of the Forward Sports Podcast.
And I'm Trey, and we've got a banger for you guys. We're going to update from our trip to the Music City Open. We're going to talk about the events that have occurred since then, give a little points update since we haven't been with you guys for a couple of weeks. Update you guys on our picks and how we did. And then we will make some picks for a European event, which we're pretty excited about that. And then we'll kind of give some thoughts on how the season's going and end with some power rankings.
Let's make it happen. Let's talk Music City. So Trey, myself, and Matt made our way up to Nashville a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I guess, at this point. And it was a very eventful weekend. Last year, we only got to be there for 2 rounds because it was Easter weekend. This year, we got to be there the entire weekend, which was just a wonderful time. I don't think we could have asked for better weather for the most part because last year it rained. So it not raining, it was a little windy, slightly chilly, but pretty good overall.
Yeah, overall, the weather was great. Kind of the first thing that stood out to me was several changes made on the course itself that I think were both beneficial to the players and to the spectators.
Agreed.
Last year, there were several holes that you really couldn't see at all as a spectator.
Right.
And I think the team really did a great job over there in Antioch. They did a great job of redesigning this course to be spectator friendly. You could pretty much see every hole to some extent.
Right.
Which was fantastic. And the sentiment that I heard from players is while the course was not perfect, it was vastly improved.
Right. So overall, I think it was a good spectating experience. We got our tickets from our Disc Golf Network Pro subscription, which I think looking back, we thought that it would be 2 single-day tickets that we would get, when in reality we actually were able to get 2 full weekend tickets, which actually makes a little bit more sense and actually is so much more value than I would have thought. Now, we're probably not going to be able to make it to another Disc Golf Pro Tour event. Like Worlds would not be an event that we could get tickets for with our subscription.
I would assume not. But
the value is there, and the general admission, honestly, and I think maybe it's that they need to find a way to make the VIP experience maybe a little better in terms of what you get from it. Like, don't get me wrong, it's fun to follow a card, I guess, but you could be in so many places as a general admission guest, whatever you want to say, spectator.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it a lot, and more than last year, because we had more confidence in just being able to walk wherever we wanted. We could be literally anywhere on the course for the most part.
Yeah, as long as you weren't getting in the way of play itself.
Right.
It was pretty accessible. Now, Thomas and I did get to have a pretty unique experience as we got to be caddies.
Yeah, that was a very cool experience. So, Trey, you take this first. Who did you get the experience to caddy for this Music City Open?
For the one, the only, the man, Eric Oakley, who we have had he's been a friend of the channel for a while now. We interacted with him a lot last year. We've gotten to spend some time with him. Just an awesome human being.
Yeah.
And texted him a couple weeks before. I was like, hey, you need a caddy? He's like, I would love for you to be on the bag. So we did that, jumped on the bag. He played pretty well. We had a couple of mistakes here and there. A little bit of putting woes on the last day. But we got on the last cash. He was in the top 20 after round 1, so we got to have a really fun card round 2, really competitive. I got to watch Gannon Burr and Calvin Heimberg play. So overall, it was a super fun event. Eric is an absolute gem. He was so fun to caddy for.
Just a wonderful person to be around. He just makes the people around him feel welcome. And I think this is something that we saw last year. Eric is the first person on the course that, or I say, not that he's the only person, but he will be the first person to walk up to any volunteer he sees and thank them for being out there.
He thanked every single volunteer. Anytime he saw fans gathered watching him, he thanked them. He was quick to do that, and his positivity, like even with his card mates, was just infectious. And so that was just really fun to see, and he allowed me to kind of get into his game plan a little bit. He would tell me things that he wanted to remember for the next day, so I really actually got to not just hold the bag, but help him walk through the course. And so that was unique, and it's just a friendship that I just really appreciate. So shout out to Eric Oakley. Now, Thomas, who did you get to caddy for?
Yeah, probably a week before the event. I had messaged a couple people, which I think that's a fun way to do it. Just reach out to a few people, see who may or may not need one. And Parker Welk reached out, which was a fun one. He was the 2023 Dynamic Discs Open winner, has transitioned to DGA this year from Prodigy. And, I said, hey, if you need a caddy, that'd be awesome. No pressure either way, excited to watch you play. Tried to leave it very open-ended, not like I'm gonna be upset if I can't caddy for you type message. Had a couple people decline politely, and then Parker was like, yeah, definitely, if you'd like to, you can definitely run that. So it was a good experience. Really nice guy overall. I caddied for the first 2 rounds. The third round, he played not as well as he wanted to the second round and wanted to run his bag solo for the third, which I totally understand. You're like, hey, I'm out here playing for money, and I just need to lock in. Now, he did not play as well as he wanted to that round regardless, so he really needed me on the back at the end of the day.
He absolutely did. And
But
I think they wound up
they
tying.
did. They both finished 8 under, so they were Parker was 1 stroke behind Eric going into the last round and played 1 stroke better on the final round. So Parker's first round was actually his best round. It's just a unique experience to see the course at angles that even the VIP spectators are probably not always going to be at the tee pad for specific holes.
Right.
And I enjoyed it a ton. And Parker's a super nice guy. Now, he is definitely one to get in his head, like I'm sure plenty of disc golfers are. I was a little surprised at maybe a slight amount of unpreparedness, but I think that just came down to some weather changes that were unexpected. The first day, he had a jacket and long pants on. He did eat an orange right before he started the round, and so his hands were sticky, and so he was wiping off his hands with water after a few holes, in which case he ended up playing a great rest of the round after that. And the second round, it was colder, but it didn't seem that way. It was actually really warm to start day 2, and he didn't bring long pants and a jacket. He had come to the course with Adam Hammis that morning, and so he just didn't have those things with him. He didn't have his car with him from where they were staying. So it was just unfortunate. It wasn't something he just generally wasn't prepared to do. It was just unfortunate that he didn't have it.
Well, and that was an unforeseen circumstance too, with the delay from the threats.
Right.
So there were threats made specifically on Natalie Ryan during the event, and we'll just say we won't get into it. But what we will say is, regardless of where you land in the situation, violence is never the answer.
No, it's just stupid. I mean, at the end of the day, if I disagree with Natalie playing in the FPO field, I can disagree with that. And I'm probably never going to change a person's mind if I feel that way without a genuine relationship with that person. Fear is not going to instill change in somebody. Relationships cause conversation, which cause either party to think differently. So that's just how you should approach it, and you should never push violence on people to try to get your way.
Yeah, absolutely. But back to the event itself.
They were playing later than anticipated.
Yes. And so it did get much colder.
Wind picked up more than anticipated. Me and Parker were looking the first round, and it looked like the winds were going to die down the second 2 days. Then it got really warm really quick the second day.
And then cooled down significantly as we were playing later than expected.
And so the wind picked up. Actually, on our walk from hole 10 tee pad to hole 10 fairway, Joseph Anderson, Joey Buckets, was on the card, and he sprinted to his car in the parking lot right past there because he needed a jacket. And so it was just unfortunate. And Parker actually, round 1, didn't realize he played as well as he did, which I was watching scores, but I would never, to somebody who I'm not close with by any means, be like, hey, you're actually doing okay. That would just that is not the way to go about caddying. So it was a fun experience. I really appreciated the heck out of Parker for letting me do that. That just meant a ton to me to get to see the course from that angle, carry the bag for them, get to like see certain players throw shots from angles I normally wouldn't have. I also did get to go into some mud and pull a disc out of like some like thorns and stuff for Parker. I remember looking at him first round, hole 10, throws it a OB, but kind of into the water, but not all the way in. And you could tell Parker was like, oh man, I don't want to have to go in and get this. It's not a fun time down there. And I looked at him and I was like, you hold my phone. I've got nothing to lose. You've got 2 rounds of disc golf to play after this. And I went in that bad boy and got that disc.
What a guy.
It was a good time. Grot him.
Yeah. And so the caddying experience was really good. I'm glad that we were able to do that and experience the course in that way. But now let's get down to the actual play.
Yeah.
So on the FPO side, Kristen Tatar takes it down. Repeat champion at the Music City Open. I don't think it was really much of a competition.
Not entire. I think it was close going into the round, but it was not leading into the latter portion.
Yes, that is correct. I think, Holland Hanley was, I think, maybe even up 1 stroke going into the final round.
Very well. It's been a few weeks since we've been here, but yeah, it ended up being a 4-stroke differential there, which you also had the same thing on the men's side, where Simon Lizotte pulled away from it throughout the round.
Yeah.
And so we ended up leaving just early because we had a really long drive back, and
we saw the writing on the wall for the MPO. Simon was well ahead of Paul.
Yeah.
Well ahead of Ricky, and takes down the win. Simon and Kristen both going back to back.
They both get a Gibson guitar for a 2nd year in a row,
which is really exciting. Chris Dickerson, I mentioned Paul and Ricky. Chris Dickerson coming in 4th, continuing his hot play. Always wants to compete the best he can in Tennessee, and he put up together a great performance.
And then we go in more recently, we get the Champions Cup coming in. And just to be very quick with this is Andrew Presnell takes it down.
Absolutely slayed.
Somebody who has been around this sport for a long time has really been pushing to get a big win like this and gets the job done. I mean, you could not have asked for, a guy like more from a guy like him in that kind of pressure.
He was the most composed I've ever seen someone who has not picked up that big win on tour.
Yeah.
Like even so this season, Barella and Niklas both get their first win on tour. AB was super, he almost gave it away.
Right.
To some extent.
Which is nuts because last year we had a similar circumstance where Corey Ellis takes down the European Open, but almost in the fashion of AB giving it to him.
Yeah, and AB definitely gave it to him.
And in this situation, Prez took this bad boy.
Oh, he absolutely did. Went in composed, showed no emotion. Even when he won, I think he was a little bit in, not shock, but disbelief to some extent because he's waited so long for this moment. But he showed very little emotion. He was calm, cool, collected, and picked up a dub, which was super, super exciting for him.
And then the FPO side came down very close as well. I mean, Evelina Salonen takes it by 1 stroke, shooting +2 in that final round, and Hannah Blumers goes and gets an eagle on the final hole.
To make it a 1 stroke.
Yeah, where Evelina could not take bogey on that hole. That's just a wild ending right there. You put as much pressure as you possibly could, so, Hannah definitely put it there. And
Owen also picking up the birdie there, and so Evelina did just enough to get the job done.
It's been cool seeing her be able to actually get it done.
Yeah, her 2nd win on the season, a major win. It's her first major win, I think, since 2019?
Something like that.
Something like that. So very excited for her that the putting has finally come together and she is picking up wins.
And then we just yesterday finished the Dynamic Discs Open, and you go and very frankly, I mean, Calvin just shoots an absolute insane round.
He goes 12 down with a bogey.
And a layup on hole 18. I mean, he could have tied Joseph Anderson's 13 under round if he had really wanted to right there.
Which wound up being the tournament record. That's what I'm going to start calling these.
It's a much better term.
Because
course record, and then you make one tiny tweak. You move the OB line over just slightly. And now it's a new course record.
But also courses change. There are courses that have, Music City Open changed significantly. And I think this Champions Landing was actually a pretty new course as well. There were several changes that happened. But we just need to start saying tournament record. Let's be real.
Yeah,
But
I think it's good to, tournament record. I'm good with that. But Calvin Heimberg just shoots an absolute insane round that it's hard to compete with that. I don't know what else to ask. Now, we did see, and we'll talk points here, Ricky collapse out of the top 3 in the last 3 holes, going bogey, bogey, bogey to finish the event. Trey had picked Ricky to place in the event. He had picked Gannon Burr to win. Gannon Burr comes in 2nd place. Ricky Wysocki finishes it tied for 5th place.
it was tough. Now, but what I do want to commend Thomas on is the storyline of picking Gavin Rathbun to Forge.
Let's go!
So, many of you know, if you're listening to this, that Gavin Rathbun got dropped by Dynamic Discs this offseason.
Yeah.
And it seemed almost as if it was late in the game to where he was not able to secure another disc sponsor. I think he's working with some sponsors. I know he's working with Gateway to some extent.
Gateway?
And others, I'm sure. And he's got, brand deals with towels and probably a bag and things like that. But
it definitely looked like the writing on the wall. He had a lot of stuff going on that seemed like maybe it could be the end of his career based on a variety of injury factors and,
many other things. Just the post that he made after Dynamic dropped him it was solemn.
Yeah.
But he has come out this year. He has one not great finish, but the rest of the year, he has been very competitive and has cashed at every single event he's played except for one. And this event, being the Dynamic Discs Open, when Thomas made that pick, I couldn't help but root for the guy.
Yeah.
The whole time we watched the last round together.
It was a fun time.
And I was like, I love Calvin Heimberg, but I was just hoping he would choke for the storyline of Gavin Rathbun being able to win.
And we made some slight changes to our points, specifically in if your Forge pick for the men's side or the mixed side finishes top 5 instead of just top 10. So 6 through 10 gets you 3 points for your Forge pick. 2 through 5 gets you 6 points, and then a win gets you 12 points. If your Forge point or pick ends up winning the event, you should get more than if you picked a just normal winner to win the event because they were not near like the caliber of a typical winner.
Yeah, it's somebody who is ranked outside the top 40.
That's a huge.
That's like that's like if you picked Parker Walk to win.
Yeah, so it was really cool to see Gavin go there. So. Points update across the board. We won't go all the way across like who got what, but thus far through the Dynamic Discs Open, I have 57 points. Trey has 40 points. He was this close to getting 15 additional points, and it would have been a 2-point differential. But unfortunately, he did not get them last second because you missed out on 5 points because Ricky missed a putt on 18.
Yes, he missed 2 putts on 18.
Or wait, was it? Oh yeah, I guess the first putt was the one that definitely put him out. The second putt put him from 4th to 5th.
Yeah. So it was a tough scene for sure. But coming up this weekend, we have the Copenhagen.
Oh, wait, real quick.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, we do need to talk about FPO.
Okay, first off, if you're listening right now, immediately go and check out the video I've posted on Missy Gannon and Haley King. It's a unique circumstance with an out-of-bounds call.
We don't need to get into like all the finer
that video
details.
will speak for itself. But Missy Gannon takes down the Dynamic Discs Open to Haley King in a playoff. Some unique circumstance with Emily Weatherman that we also won't discuss necessarily right now. There's some details that we don't particularly have to speak to it accurately. And so we want to leave that where it is and talk about it separately if we get the chance. But let's talk about the Copenhagen Open.
Yeah, we don't cover a ton of European disc golf, but the tour is going over there.
Yes, it is an Elite Series event. It's getting paid as an Elite Series event. Actually, I don't know.
And do they list it as like a silver event?
It's a Europe Elite event, which I guess is what they said at the beginning was.
No, it just says Disc Golf Pro Tour.
No, they haven't. shown, and maybe they won't until we hit there, the projected.
Professional Elite Series.
Yeah, I'm curious if they'll show the payout and see if it differs, or if they do put the money in. So we'll make a decision later on how we feel about this event, because there definitely is a lack of people playing because of there being the OTB Open, the Beaver State Fling, and the Portland Open.
Yeah, there's almost a European tour within the Disc Golf Pro Tour at this point. And some players are going to opt and go and play those events.
Right.
And others are going to stay and play like OTB in the Preserve and
right
events like that.
Or somebody like Chris Dickerson is going to take some time off.
Which good for him.
He's got some health-related reasons, and I think it's good for him to go back, get some clarity on his current health circumstance, enjoy time with family while he's getting that much-needed rest.
Absolutely.
So a lot of options that you could choose from here. So let's go just straight into our picks. This is a unique one. You don't have a lot of like top tier players. You're not seeing a Ricky Wysocki, a Calvin Heimberg, and Anthony Barella going out there. Let's make some picks. Trey, you want to start because you have the first pick. We've pre-made these picks. Trey, on the FPO side, you decided to.
Yeah, so we decided to go FPO first, and I'm taking Evelina Salomon to win.
And then I go, and I'm going to choose to podium Anniken Christensen Steen.
Very good pick.
And then I'm going to choose Heidi Lane. Is it Laney? Or just Lane?
Lane.
As my winner for the event.
Nice. And so I'm going to go with Rachel Turton to place. And then, so we tried to do a little bit different with the Forge picks. We want to highlight some players that we're not as familiar with.
Yeah.
And so the Forge picks were named, like, we went off of...
You had to choose somebody you've never heard of.
So it was kind of off vibes.
Right.
And so...
And this in a way for us to follow somebody and keep up with somebody's score who we historically probably would not have paid as much attention to. On both sides, NPO and FPO.
So my Forge pick this week is Matilda Ringbaum. Don't know anything about her, but she's going to shred.
And then I'm picking, I apologize in advance, Martje Sumowski.
I think that was probably close.
Martje Sumowski, maybe? Sumowski. And then to win, I'm choosing Jakub Semerad on the NPO side.
Very nice. I'm going to go with the safe pick here, and I'm going to take Niklas Antila to place.
I like it.
And then I'm going with Mauri Vilman. Not many people know about Mauri, but Mauri's got game. He is super solid. 6th
highest PDGA rated player at a 1025, with the highest being Niklas Antila at 1042, then a 1031, and then you hit some sub 1030s across the board. So it's a very good pick in terms of the field that we see playing the event.
Correct. Not a lot of people have gotten to see Mauri's game. I've watched some of the European events from this past year, and dude's got game.
And then on my podium side, I'm going to pick my coach at the Power Disc Golf Academy, Paul Ulibarri. And my Forge pick, and again, I'm going to try to get this as best I can. I apologize in advance. Eetu Tuominen.
I think that's probably close again.
I can't be too far off on that one.
I really hope not. If we are, and you guys are listening to this, and you
just send us an audio message. Just tell us. We want to get it right.
Because I went with Pekka Hyvänen.
I like it. Very good.
Hyvänen.
This should be a good event. Now, we are going to play this event for half points per normal. And now, I'll give 3 points for the half for the podium instead of 5.
Yeah, it'll round up.
So how about this? We go 6, 3, and we go
2,
4, and 8. 2, 4, and 8.
Ooh.
Yeah.
8 points if my boy Pekka takes it down.
8 points. That way, it's still more than the winner right there. 2, 4, 8. That sound good?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
There we go. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's the Forge Sports podcast for the week.
We got power rankings.
We got power rankings.
So, yeah, I've got the power rankings here. We did some calculations, but there's also
kept it a little bit on the vibes this week. We're going to stay on the MPO side.
Yep, and so we'll do a little more detailed, and we'll have FPO included in the next pod. But
Trey, you want to start at 15?
Yeah, I'll start at 15. So coming in at 15 is Mason Ford, who has had just an overall solid season. He did not play the Dynamic Disc Open, which dropped him a little bit in these rankings, but he does maintain the 15 slot over, I would say, somebody like Luke Humphreys or Paul Macbeth.
Yeah. And number 14, we've got my boy, Gavin Rathbun, having just a sneaky good season. And we just want to see him continue to compete. I think he's got a lot of potential this season.
Yeah, Gavin's had a lot of super solid events. We're not going to let that one bad event kind of rule him out at this point. We've had enough events for that to very much look like an outlier.
Yeah.
But somebody who hasn't had any bad events, but also hasn't had any top 10 finishes, but we felt like this guy has just been the epitome of just being there and cashing, is Jakub Simerad. He's only played 6 events, so we didn't feel like we could justify putting him any higher than 13.
Yeah, but he's had a very consistent season, 0 top 10s in any of those.
But I don't think he's finished
Nothing
worse than like
23rd is his worst finish. So he's played very good. That's number 13 disc golf right there.
Absolutely. So who do we have at number 12?
We've got Matthew Oram, who happens to have 2 meh finishes, one that's relatively poor at an 81st finish, but he's had several top 10 finishes. Overall, wonderful disc golfer. I think earns the 12th spot.
Absolutely. Then coming in at 11th, this guy has not gotten to play. Well, I actually think he's played 6 events. So
he has played 6 events, but he's progressively gotten better throughout the season.
And then he took some time off.
Yes.
To have his second child. So we have the Music City Open winner, Simon Lazat.
Yeah, a win definitely gets you up there, considering you've got a 5th place finish and then a 16-27, and the first event of the year at a 76 is not great, but I think it's solid for a 12 or for an 11 spot.
2 top 5s, one of those being a win. We have to consider that. Now breaking into the top 10, who do we have?
We have the Joey Buckets.
Yes, sir.
Playing some absolutely good disc golf. Shot the hot tournament round at the Dynamic Discs Open. He's got 1, 2, 3 top 10 finishes, and then he's played relatively consistent. His worst was Jonesboro at a 40th finish. He's played some very hot disc golf this year. Honestly, on the potential list for most improved disc golfer from just a vibe check perspective.
I feel like him and Simerad have to be in that conversation for sure.
Yeah. What do you have at number 9?
Number 9, guy who's on what I would say is a decline, is Kyle Klein.
Yep. Kyle Klein on a decline. Yeah. I mean, definitely started off the season really good, and then a little 112 at Music City. That's a drop.
That's a DNF, yeah. But, I mean, nothing awful. 27th place. But the last 3 finishes have been 27, 17, 16. That's not worthy of a top 5 slot where he was before.
I would agree completely.
And everybody else in front of him is playing better. So Kyle still playing good golf, but he is slotted in at 9.
Yeah.
And then at number 8,
we've got Ezra Robinson, who honestly, if he could just put together a little bit of clutch factor, I think he'd be higher on this list. At the Dynamic Discs Open, he finished 11th place, and dude shot a terrible round. I need to go back to my list and find that scene with the hood on hole 16. He rolls up the hole 16 at the Dynamic Discs Open with his hood still on, and then he literally has this moment where he goes, oh, takes it off, and then throws his shot.
Out of bounds, and then proceeds to immediately put the hood back on.
Yeah, I'm like, brother, he was on lead card, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on lead card putting your hood on. Love you, brother. I know you're a good disc golfer. You're just having a tough round. But you've had a good season. You've had 2 top 10 finishes, but a lot of these are really low in the 10s. So very impressed by his season. Very improved.
He's a win away from a top 5 season.
Yeah. What do we got next?
So at 7, we talked about him a little earlier. We have Niklas Antila, who finally got the monkey off his back, got the first win on tour, and then kind of fell off the face of the earth.
Just for 2 events.
But then comes back and grabs 2 more top 5 finishes.
Right. So there's a win, 2 top 2s, a 5th place finish, and a 9th place finish, and then 2 just random 60-plus finishes.
So we think he got a little excited after his dub and just kind of chilled out for a couple events.
Yeah.
And then pulled it back together. And that's good enough to keep you in the 7th slot, but not good enough to beat our number 6 guy.
Number 6 guy, I don't think the play necessarily warrants a top 5, but the Andrew Presnell, your 2024 Champions Cup winner, one-time major winner now, Andrew Presnell. I mean, he's had a relatively consistent season, a couple tougher finishes, but bounces back right after the major win and gets a top 5 finish, and he's had some sub 20 finishes. I think that major definitely bumps him up a bit.
Oh, absolutely. Winning a major matters a lot.
All right, who do we have at number 6?
Number 5.
Or number 5?
Number 5, we have the Tennessee man himself, Chris Dickerson. The dude played all right at the first event at chess.com, and since has not missed the top 10.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Dude is playing lights out.
He's playing like Chris Dickerson of 2022, not of Chris Dickerson of 2023. And that's the Chris Dickerson we need on tour.
Exactly. So now here at number 4, we have Calvin Heimberg. I mean, talk about somebody who, like, last season played insane, and you kind of just expected him to do normal Calvin golf, and he's almost done that outside of a couple rougher finishes. 34th at 2 events at chess.com and at Music City. But past that, he's got a 3rd place finish, a 5th place, a 2nd place, a 5th place, and a win.
I wonder if he finished worse than 34th last season. So that's what we feel like. He's just off his game just a hair, but then
just a little bit. And now, to be fair, he also doesn't have the forehand entirely currently. He's still healing from an injury. He threw a few at DDO, but you can tell it definitely is not 100% there.
For sure.
We wouldn't be either. You want to be very careful with that.
Absolutely.
Who do you have at number 3?
Coming into the podium, this guy's had quite a few podiums this year. We got Ricky Wysocki.
Playing very well. Super consistent, never sub 20.
Yep. Nothing under 20. He's got 3 podium finishes to go with a 5th place.
Yeah.
And a 10th place. So he is playing absolutely phenomenally. He just
needs a win.
If he gets a win, he probably puts himself in the conversation with these top 2 guys.
Yeah.
And it's very close. It's closer than you would think.
Right.
Between these 2. But who did we put at number 2?
We've got Gannon Burr. I think that makes sense. You obviously know who's up there, but we'll talk about him next. But Gannon Burr, 1 win on the season at Waco. Now, Elite Plus event, 4-round event. I love 4-round events. But then has several top 5s outside of that. So 2 4th place finishes, 2 2nd place finishes, a couple 7ths, and then a 10. Never outside the top 10. That's 2nd place golf right there. When you got this person at number 1.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's 1st place golf unless Anthony Barella is having the season that he is having.
Yeah,
three of them, 3 wins in the first 8 events. That's
if he had come in 2nd place at 2 of those events, it would probably be Gannon Burr up top because AB had 1 non-top 10.
Yeah, and actually when we were running the numbers, Gannon actually has the better average finish now, but we can't argue with the utter dominance of the first part of the season.
Yeah.
He is playing lights out. He is doing things that we didn't think could be done in this era of disc golf.
And he's pulled back a little bit. He was pure top 10s, then the actual 10 finish, which is still top 10, but then DDO 14, which that's not bad golf. That's just number 1 golf. Like, you need to keep pushing it because we want to see Anthony Barella continue to absolutely shred. He's so fun to watch. Hole 18 at the Dynamic Discs Open, seeing him throw a pure hyzer to get onto the green in 2, that's just insane.
He's on another level right now. He legitimately is, and it's super fun to see him finally come into his own and win events and be dominant. So, but Gannon's on his trail. He's close. It's closer than you might think. But that's where we are for now, and I think that's the end of our podcast.
We'll see how the Copenhagen Open goes. It should be good, and then we'll be back here in the near term. We'd like to get out on the course. It was raining today.
I drove to the course. We were going to film.
Did you get all the way to VA?
Yeah, I mean, I sat at VA for like 20 minutes.
Because you were already there, and then I had to go pick up the trout. That makes sense.
Yep, so we were hoping to film a bag swap 9-hole round for you guys to see how good at disc golf we are. Spoiler, we're really good.
So good.
So good. But
rain prevented us today, so we're going to have to push that just a little bit. It should be here soon.
Yeah. And so got some exciting things in the future. But thanks for listening. If you don't already subscribe, please do so. And then check us out on Instagram and TikTok for now.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen to TikTok, but
who knows? I think we'll be fine. I doubt that it's actually going to fall through and end up not being able to be used. That just, I think so many advertisers are going to lose enough money that they'll lobby the heck out of that. But I'm not a politician. I actually don't follow that stuff close enough. We'll see where it goes.
regardless, follow us on socials and subscribe and give us a little comment to let us know what you would like to see us do on the course.
Yeah. So we appreciate it, guys, and we'll catch you next time in episode 30.
Wow, 30 episodes. That's
Very
crazy.
nice. We'll see you guys later.